the biggest surprise that has made me feel a little bit better about things is I have gotten a lot of people who have reached out to tell me that my books have stopped them from committing suicide. When I decided that I was going to be an author, it was because I was dungeon mastering, like playing D&D, and a lot of the players...
Nerd.
Yeah.
So the new one that can take over Romantasy would be Lit Romance PG. Huh?
Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me. I'm Nicholas W. Fuller, and it is one of our early episodes recording of the Nerdy Nebula podcast, the show where we are scouring the galaxy looking for the best nerdy stuff. I'm excited for our chat tonight. My co-host tonight is my good friend and cousin, Dante Romero. How you doing, Dante?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure, bud. Thanks for co-hosting with me. I'm excited to actually do this with co-hosts now. It's going to be like a little bit of a different vibe, you know?
Yeah, I can just throw you off your game.
Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. And of course, we've got another guest for our chat tonight, Shami Stovall. How you? Wait, Shami Stovall?
And I'm also here.
Right?
Yep.
Maybe?
Yeah.
It might be an imposter. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be a shapeshifter. You never know.
Yeah.
I could be AI.
Oh, God. Oh,
There's that. Yeah.
yeah. You're a deep fake. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
It's our other cousin.
Yeah.
Cousin Deepfake Stovall. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of different kind of questions and things that we want to talk about and getting to know you. But I guess let's start with, I think that you have been writing and publishing since roughly 2019. Is that about right?
I think 2018, but yeah.
Okay. And you've, in the, you know, obviously it's 2025 now, so it's been 6 years, and it's more 7 years, and you've done quite a few different genres as well. Can you kind of just talk a little bit about how many books do you have out now, and, like, what are you working on at the moment, and, like, that sort of thing?
I think I have, like, close to 30 some odd books out.
Wow.
Yeah. Whoa. I like writing, so it's not a surprise to me, I guess. Because writing makes me happy. I like to tell people that I play author on hard mode because I do switch genres. Most of the time, authors get themselves like really entrenched in a singular genre and build up a huge audience, and then rarely stray from the genre.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided,
and you said, fuck that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was dumb. I wanted to play on hard mode. It's really just because I like a lot of genres of books and entertainment. So I really like science fiction. I really like fantasy. I like YA. I like grimdark. I like space opera. I like military. I like historical fiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm all over the place. Urban fantasy. So sometimes I just write, you know, whatever my heart is telling me to write. I mean, that sounds hippy-dippy, but you know, when you have a passion, I feel like when you write with a passion, your readers can totally tell. Like, your readers get more into it. Yeah. So I definitely follow my passion, probably too much. So yeah, I do write in a lot of genres.
So even though you write on hard mode, like, well, you have like a BS in history, you have a JD, I don't know if you passed the bar. Did you even try the bar? Or were you like, no, I'm done being a lawyer, you know?
After I graduated law school, I worked in a drug court for a little while, and then for about a year.
That seems like a nice uplifting place to be.
Yeah, it was awful. and then I stopped. So, you know, I wasn't really an attorney for any notable length of time.
But you've been a professor for a while, but, like, my impression is that now you're, like, a full-time writer?
Yeah, this is all I do for my job. It's all I've been doing for my job for like the last 5 years. So yeah.
That nice.
Yeah.
And it would get, like, I mean, you mentioned doing it on hard mode, but I feel like you're also doing all the things right now because you like doing like a Kickstarter special edition. You have your Patreon that you post to. You're doing some indie publishing and then some like sort of not indie publishing with Atheon. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. Spinning the plates.
you're also at the time of recording, you're quite a bit pregnant right now, right?
Oh, yeah. 8 months along, gonna have a BB soon.
Baby. And this is your first baby, right?
Yeah, this is for my first BB.
Are you like sort of trying to? You just did like a con this past week, and you're doing the Kickstarter. Are you like, okay, I need to rush everything right now and be done, like so that you could relax a little? Is that part of the thinking?
I went to a con. It was going to be my last con before, obviously I give birth and
BB?
stuff like that. Yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
a BB.
Yeah.
I did do this Kickstarter so that it would be ended before, my supposed due date. Now, I guess the due date could be.
Yeah, whenever BB decides it's time.
Yeah. So it could happen before the end of the Kickstarter. I doubt it, but
Yeah.
I did do that so that it would be over before then. But I'm not really trying to rush anything. It's just even if I'm pregnant, I still have to work. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
I can't be like, oh, I'm pregnant now. I don't work. No, nobody does that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess some people do because they're in a luckier position. You know what I'm saying? But
Sure.
I still got to work.
Right.
So are you doing a gender reveal with like a book out
My
there?
God.
So if you get a pink book, then it's a girl. If it no,
No, I didn't do a gender reveal. I just told anybody who asked. It's a little
What is
boy.
it?
Yeah.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't guess I just don't like gender reveals. Every time I've seen one in like a video or something. I mean, I guess I'm happy that the parents are happy, like legitimately, but at the same time I'm like that seems like a lot of work and silly for something that is a very
Yeah.
tiny detail. Does that make any sense? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and now they're burning down forests with half the gender reveals. So
With
got it.
half of gender reveals are burning down forests.
exactly all of them.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep.
Getting a little out of control.
It's just-
yeah, I guess I've seen some gender reveals that are like so over the top as to be preposterous.
right.
Like there
right.
was one that was like they fill a river with certain dyes, like pink or blue dyes, I can't remember, to change like the
Wow.
nearby waterfall to be the color of the reveal. But then
Wow.
it hurt the environment because they put so much dye in the water. Again,
Environment, you know? I mean, you're only going to have like one time to know the gender of this bit. I don't know. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
like I said, it just feels like a lot of effort for one detail.
Yeah.
So it's not my thing.
Yeah.
If it's for other people, you know what I'm saying? Like more power to them.
Yeah. As long as you're not, burning down a forest. Or,
Yeah, I've seen people that do
Or-
like a cake, like they cut it open,
Sure.
whatever color the inside
That's
is.
cute.
Yeah, very cute.
Yeah. It's not an environmental disaster.
yeah.
I mean, there's that.
Depends on how the cake tastes, you know? I don't
Right.
know.
That's true. How much salt?
Cool. What what's
Hey, I want to back up a little bit because
Gotta
so you were saying
rewind.
you've been writing since like 2018, and it eventually became your full-time gig.
yeah, pretty quick it sounds like.
Yeah, you've clearly written a lot of books and published a lot. I mean, how'd you find the time? How did it all come through? I mean, how fast do you write?
Well, I write a lot. I write pretty quickly. When I decided that I was going to be an author, it was because I was dungeon mastering, like
Oh.
playing D&D, and a lot
Nice.
of the players.
Nerd.
Yeah, I'm pretty nerdy, guys. Sorry to say.
Perfect podcast.
Whoa. Yeah, so a lot of my players said that I had really great storytelling, really great characters.
Nice.
I never used the pre-made campaigns. I always just made my own. And then I decided to write, and my husband, when he read it, he was like, "Oh, Shami, you could definitely be an author, like a full-time author, if that's what you want to do." And so it was with his encouragement and praise, because he's the kind of guy who's like really, really honest. You know, that classic joke where you're like, "Does this dress make me look fat?" If you thought it made me look fat, he would say it made me look fat. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just
Before you asked?
no. He's not quite like that. He's not.
Okay,
He
that's
doesn't
good.
lack tact. He just is super honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't want his honest opinion, I know not to ask for it.
Yeah.
So it was with his, praise, I guess, that I moved forward, and
Nice.
I actually stopped working like a normal job and just wrote full time.
Very cool.
And
So
so for
you went full time before like you had full time income is what I'm hearing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a choice, like it was a choice by both John and I. And we just treated it like a business. And I tell this to people all the time who want to be an author full time. You have to treat it like a business. You have to and people who open up a restaurant or who open up a donut shop or something like that, a lot of the times they have to take loans from the bank and they won't actually see a return on investment for like a year or two,
Right.
because that's what happens. So when I stopped working and just started writing and all this other kind of stuff, it was an investment in the future, right? I learned to write. I got the time I needed to write my books. I got them out there. I learned how to market. And
Nice.
then just like if you were running a restaurant, you know what I'm saying? Like I do things like look at my ROI and my click-through rates on ads, and I make sure that I'm writing at least somewhat to market so that I can sell lots of books. And then I do other things such as selling my audio rights, doing special editions on Kickstarters, like this is what you would do in a business.
Yeah.
Like restaurants have family days or like, oh, a special Christmas meal or, other things like that in order to continually draw in new people to see their culinary beauty. And nobody makes fun of you if you open up a restaurant. But my God, people will attempt to shame you for wanting to be a full-time author sometimes. Like they'll say things like, oh, that's silly. Nobody's ever a full-time author. Like that kind of thing. So I always find it a little odd, but I basically just treated it as though I was starting up a business because that's what I did.
Except
that's
that
really
you're
good
like
advice.
you have a no significant need for upfront capital like a restaurant, which is a big bonus, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is some upfront capital if you want to like
True.
self-publish and stuff.
That's a
Like
good point.
you have to edit, you have to get book covers, you have to invest in yourself. Like the real cost is sitting down and giving yourself enough time to learn how to properly write a book and all this other kind of stuff, because every day that you don't work, that is technically an investment in your future. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
So
I get
yeah.
what you're saying though about how people kind of laugh at you. I remember specifically in my early 20s, I was being like, "Wow, what do I want to do?" for a little bit, and then I was dating a girl for at the time, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to write. I remember writing when I was starting to write a novel in fifth grade. I want to be a writer. Let's do that. And this girl, would read books on her phone regularly, and this was like 20 years ago. So we were, you yeah, I guess like that was pre-Kindle days, really. It was early iPhone days. But she would read books on her phone. The girl, she read books a lot. But I told her I wanted to be a writer, and she was like, "Nah, it's not a real job." And like, you read. Who do you think writes these? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I get what you're saying, and like, I think that's ridiculous. I don't know how we have that cultural problem where we sort of laugh at new artists and don't take them seriously.
I think there's a combination of a couple things. One, there is a stigma based around the stereotype of a starving artist, like somebody who is an artist and then never makes any money. I think it's so common in pop culture that you still see it in like movies, books, TV shows. And so a lot of people, when they imagine it, they always just imagine artists are struggling and starving. Secondly, it is a career that doesn't have hoops, clearly defined hoops. And I think a lot of people prefer hoops in general. And what I mean by that is like you go
Like
to
kind of
a
rungs on the ladder, or like obvious
you
things
go
that
to a company, you get an interview, right? Like most jobs have
Yeah.
these exact same procedures. If you want to
Okay.
work at an Applebee's, you go there and interview. If you want to work at Microsoft, you go there and get an interview. If you want to work at the nearby amusement park, you go there and get an interview. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the same hoop in every single spot.
Sure.
Go get an interview, and if you pass the interview, you'll go on to the next stages. But with being an author, or being any artist, really, there isn't an interview stage. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could just start being an author literally at any time. And so those lacks of hoops, those lacks of, like, structure, make people think that this is not a real job, because a real job requires an interview. A real job requires somebody to hire you, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, I think there are so many people who attempt an art thing, but don't treat it like a career. They end up treating it like it is a super special side project. You know, there are a lot of people who write a book, like one book ever, and they put it onto Amazon, and then they make like 15 cents. You know what I'm saying? Like, because
I do know what you're saying. I do. Yeah.
Well, I feel like it happens because they don't treat it like a business enough. They treated it more like an art project. And so there are enough people that treat a art career like an art project that now we have lots and lots of data points that are just people who are quote unquote failing at being an artist. Because if you put out a book and it costs you $500 to put together, you know, in terms of editing and a book cover and all that, and then you only make 50 cents, everyone's like, what a failed, terrible artist. You know what I'm saying? And and if there's 500 of those people, and then compared to the one person who did make money, they're like, well...
nobody makes money at this, But,
exactly.
I mean, but that's kind of crap, too, in a way. To be, like, if you wrote a book, you didn't fail. You know what I mean? Like, I get the point, but, like, you know, you're losing money, and in that regard, it's a failure. But, like, if you wrote a whole-ass book, like, good job. You know what I mean?
I think so many people want to, like... just because everyone thinks that they can write a book, right? Because you're just creating something out of nothing. Oh, I can do that. I can do that.
Well, I think plus like everyone tells stories. Everyone tells stories, and then so everyone thinks that they can tell a longer story. Oh, it's just, you know, but it's like actually writing a whole book is like a whole other ball game, you know. Meanwhile, Shami's like, nah, I did this 30 times. It's the same as like the kitchen table story that I tell. It's easy.
Well, again, I just keep wanting to come back and compare this to like a business attitude. Because anybody can write a book, theoretically, because like any art, there isn't technically, like there's not a judge of people or panel of people that are going to judge whether or not this is a book or whether it's not a book. You could be as artsy-fartsy as you want, man. It can be an entire book with nothing but poems. It could be a book that's written entirely in haikus. You could... start from the end and go to the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And technically, you can open up a restaurant and you can decide to serve nothing but your specialty chocolate chip cookies, which don't actually involve any chocolate chips because you don't like chocolate chips. And,
surprise, the raisins.
You can do whatever you want in your restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's your restaurant, buddy. But you're not going to make money at that restaurant. And I feel like... anybody can write a book, and they're not wrong when they say that, but writing a book that is marketable, just like having a restaurant that serves food that people want to eat, is its own special skill, right? Like, and you need to, you know, if you're going to open up a restaurant, you should probably, at least if you're going to be the cook, not the administrator, you probably need to know something about culinary skills. You can't just roll into a kitchen and be like, I guess I'm going to make whatever my heart feels like today, because that's not going to make a successful restaurant. And it's the same with writing a book. You have to learn, you know, the steps. Most people expect a 3-act structure. Most people expect a resolution to the actual plot, right? Most people want to like the main character. They want to have a hook, like, why are we here to even read the story in the first place? And if you can't deliver on those things, you're going to have unsatisfied customers who are then never going to return, or maybe even return your book, and then you're losing money. So again, if you think about this like a business, you need to know how to write, really, before you start selling the product. And I think a lot of people get a little confused because you could write any book that you wanted, like literally at any point, no matter how whimsical, no matter how crazy. You know, you could have a main character for 3 chapters, and then you could decide to kill them off, and now a talking dog is the main character because that's just what you felt today. You know what I'm saying?
Did you get my outline?
Because Because who's going to stop you? Nobody. It's art. You know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want. But again, if you go to a restaurant and you order mac and cheese and then they bring you out a meatloaf, you're probably going to be like, that's not what I wanted. You know
WTF, mate? Yeah.
A man's mac and cheese is another man's meatloaf.
That's a good proverb. They should put that on the fortune cookie.
Shamyism.
Yeah.
Interesting point about hooks.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about. I mean, you write so many genres. I mean, and I didn't even know that you've written 30 odd books at this point. Like, how do you get the hook? Like, do you start with a hook and then just develop a story around it? Do you have a story and then rack your brain on how to just try to find the hook? Does it all just happen in an epiphany when you wake up one morning and?
Well, hooks are unanswered questions, right? And some hooks are a lot more hooky than others, in all seriousness. And you have a pretty good idea if you can say it in a couple of sentences and people are really interested to see how this is going to play out. So the Hunger Games hook is forcing a bunch of children into a death game, right? That immediately paints some pictures.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean a bunch of children in a death game? You know what I'm saying?
But they die, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
sorry.
No, it's okay, but that's a very clear and immediate hook. Like, you totally understand what's happening here. It's very easy to understand where we're going to go with the story. And as long as the story delivers on the hook, you're probably going to be satisfied, right? If I told you my book was about a bunch of children in a death game, and then we literally never had a death game,
mac and cheese.
Yeah, you'd be pissed. You'd be like, oh God, yes.
What kind of book is this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, Ready Player One's hook is that, some guy's got to play a bunch of video games in order to win tons of money, right? And you're like, oh, okay, that sounds great. That sounds fun, especially because they're retro games. But things like that. You can get the hook either across in, like, a blurb, like, of your actual story, or you can get the hook across in, like, the first chapter. Lots of books tend to have tons of hooks, at least the really successful ones. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of or read of Fourth Wing.
Never heard of that.
I heard of. I haven't read it.
Is that a popular title?
Yeah, only a little. Yeah. Pretty obscure. So niche.
Yeah, right. It's a little niche. Yeah.
But the first chapter, I did a pretty extensive breakdown about how she has 3 different hooks. Because the first hook is whether or not this main character is going to bond with a dragon, right? And that's a really fun hook, like, oh, bonding with dragons. The second hook is that it's clearly a romance at some level, because she rolls up on a dude who's got bowling balls for shoulders, and he's so muscular, and he's so hot, and oh my goodness, there's so much sexual tension, and you're like, oh my goodness. So the next hook is like, oh, are these two going to hook up? At some level, we know that she's going to get a dragon, and we know she's going to hook up with this guy, but it's a hook because now you want to see it. Like, you've been promised these things, and now we have to see. And the third hook is that there is an active war between 2 nations, and she's going to this military academy to fight in this war. So who's going to win this war, right? That's at least 3 hooks in that chapter. And that is an amazing first chapter. Really great first chapters have really powerful hooks that make you want to keep reading. Have you guys read The Way of Kings?
I need to, I literally have the copy right up there, and I read Mistborn, but I haven't read Way of Kings yet. But yeah, although I did start the audio. Anyway, this is more of an answer. But yeah, I did start it a little bit, and it does get your attention.
The first chapter. I mean, there's multiple prologues, so it's a little awkward to say this. But the first real chapter that feels like a chapter is like an assassin rolling up to kill a king. And so that's a fun hook, right? You're like, my God, you're in the assassin's point of view, and he's here to kill a king. Is he gonna kill the king? What's gonna happen?
And he's introducing the magic system at that point, which was super neat. I mean, that is definitely. Yes. I mean, Brandon Sanderson like prides himself on being the magic system guy, and for cause. When he was introducing like the way the magic worked in that book, it was like, oh, this is okay, all right, cool.
Have you guys read Dungeon Crawler Carl?
Bro.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well then,
yeah.
This is another form of hook where it's a mystery. Sometimes it's a little harder to pull off because you have to bank on people wanting to see what exactly is going on. But in Dungeon Crawler Carl, the first chapter is basically Carl chilling in his house. The cat gets outside. He goes outside. Everybody dies, right, who was inside.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, like, a portal opens. And he's
Yeah.
like, I guess I'm going to go into this portal. And there's, like, an announcement from the system, right?
Right.
And so you don't really know what's happening, although the announcement kind of tells you, like, you got to go into this portal, you got to be a dungeon crawler, you know, but what is happening? You know what I'm saying? Like, why did everybody die? What's going on? It's sort of like this mystery. And so the mystery is the hook. We got to see what's going on. You got to keep reading if you're going to see what is the mystery. And a lot of successful other medias use this, like Lost, the TV show, right? When a plane crash lands and there's all these mysterious things happening, and you're like, whoa.
Right.
And then you jump the shark.
Well,
and have a smoke monster and.
the real key to
I'm not
being
bitter.
super great and amazing is to is to keep your shit together, right? Like,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Got
yeah.
it. I'm good now.
Yeah. But the mystery is a hook. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a fun hook.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to pull off, like I said, because you can't be too obtuse. Because if you're too mysterious, a lot of people get really uninterested. But if your mystery has a lot of hard details, and you need to see how it plays out, then you wanna do that. So I feel like every single blockbuster series, book series, has one or two pretty powerful hooks in the very first chapter, and those hooks are what drag readers along. And this is what I'm talking about when I say you need to be skilled at writing, because I feel like if you write without any sort of education or understanding of writing, you might not know to put the hook in the first chapter. You know, I've seen a lot of new writers who, their first book ever, where they wrote it because, you know, before they did any sort of learning about story structure or anything like that, like they'll write for 17 chapters about their main character going about their daily life, right? Like they go to work, they brush their teeth, they're driving their car, and then in chapter 17, that's when the assassins attack, and
Right.
something interesting finally happened.
And then you're like, wait a bit, I thought I was reading a cozy.
Yeah.
There's been 16 chapters about brushing teeth. What's going on? Where'd the assassins come from? Yeah.
And then they're like, oh man, my book is so great. You just have to wait until chapter 16 for it to really take off.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with this, because all art, you know, if you want to write a story in which there's 16 chapters of toothbrushing, and then an assassin comes in and the guy kills that assassin with his toothbrush, that's totally fine. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to have a marketable piece of material, what I would say to this person is that should be the first chapter. You know what I'm saying? The assassin busting into the bathroom, that should be where we start the story, because that's the interesting part.
I feel like that's like the Royal Road formula on steroids, because there's plenty of books that I've read, and maybe they're older books, right? But I've plenty of books that I read that don't really seem to kind of get going right away. But Royal Road is like, we want it now. Hurry up. I need my fix 15 times in chapter 1.
Well, there is a really major reason for that, and it's because right now we live in the golden era of entertainment. If you want to be entertained, you have like 700 fucking options. Okay, you could pick up your phone, you could play a game on your phone, you could read a book on your phone, you could watch YouTube on your phone. You want to go to the movie theater, you can. You want to go to an amusement park, you can. You want to go to a park, you can totally do that too.
Fire up your Xbox. Yeah.
Yep, you got your PlayStations and your Nintendos, and you could go hang out with your friends. You could go to a fun restaurant. I'm sure there's some sort of pop-up restaurant nearby. There's probably a play going on if you really wanted that. There's concerts. There's music.
There's a new place I heard is interesting, but every time you order mac and cheese, they serve meatloaf, and it's just the weirdest thing.
I personally love that place.
They're doing something couture. But you understand what I'm trying to say. There is literally
that makes a lot of sense.
no time in which you don't have an option for entertainment.
Yeah.
But 50, 60, 70 years ago, entertainment was a lot more limited, right? They didn't just have a smartphone, and nobody wants to play stick and hoop because stick and hoop sucks. Like, so... And
Hey. I like sticking.
I just got in from playing
Just
Stick and Hoop. Speak for yourself.
I'm a stick and hoop champion.
Tomorrow we're doing Kick the Can.
Yeah, you got it. The TV,
No,
if you go back far enough, only has like 3 channels, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people
Sure.
waited up at night to listen to their favorite radio drama because that's, again, how limited there was entertainment.
Right, right.
So when a book came out, a lot of times a book would start a little slower to set up an ambiance because not a lot of people
Yeah.
traveled a lot either. So Tolkien described this a lot in some of his letters and whatnot too. He would describe the landscape, right? If you've read Lord of the Rings, you know that there's a couple chapters dedicated to grassy green hills, and
Yep.
you're like, man,
And a song.
yeah. But what he's doing is that he's giving an experience that most people might not have had, like when he's describing a bog or a mire or a twisted tree or a song. But
Yeah, that's actually really good. It's like a comment on the times that we're living in when
Right.
the book was published.
yes,
Right,
So
because even
Yeah, that's
if someone
interesting.
talked about a bog, and I was like, "What the hell's a bog?" I could Google that now, and that was
Yes.
not an option for Tolkien's audience, and not
Exactly.
the audience that he was writing for at the time. Yeah,
So, that's what's happening. That's why books like Royal Road are taking off so well because people want to be entertained right now. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Otherwise, they're just going to go to one of their other forms of instant gratification. Frankly, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's just been distilled over time.
yeah.
Like the pattern hasn't changed. It's just concentrated.
So
And that actually makes, sorry, Nick. I was gonna say that actually makes a lot of sense because one of the first books I got into was just Anne Rice, and I love Anne Rice, but one of the hardest things for me was like the you know half a chapter on the Paisley pattern. Like
Yes.
it was a little hard.
If you read Wheel of Time, there's a few of those books in the middle get a little into the intricacies of clothing making. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I find it very interesting you talking about like Fourth Wing and you're talking about Dungeon Crawler Carl. I do have some questions about both of those, and we're going to save those for a little bit. Wouldn't it be so nice if you could outline your novel, organize your world building, write your book, format your EPUB, and publish it on the same website? Well, you're in luck. Campfire is the all-in-one platform for authors, offering both a full-featured writing software and KDP-style publishing, but with 80% royalties and none of the predatory practices you're stuck with when you publish with a monopoly. Campfire's tools feature versatile panels that make creating characters as simple as moving note cards around a corkboard, only much more organized, convenient, and without the inherent dangers of working with thumbtacks. Its wide range of tools include templates for creating settings, a magic system builder, and more, all of which are connected to a word processor that makes it easy to reference your notes as you write. When you're ready, publish your book on Campfire's ebook shop and include artwork, world-building notes, short stories, and more for readers who want to explore your setting in more detail. Try Campfire today at campfirewriting.com and bring your book to life. Later.
so I really liked your magic system that you came up with in Time-Marked Warlock.
okay.
But Wait, okay, cool.
Oh, no, I was
Appreciate
waiting for you to.
No,
This is
I'm
me
getting,
acknowledging you're talking.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But it was, I thought what was also really cool about, his power set was this time element, right? And that can kind of almost be like the Superman sort of conundrum, right? Where it's just like you're so overpowered. How do you really come up with the conflict, right? The issue that the hero has to deal with. I mean, like how, first of all, coming up with a magic system is hard enough on its own, but how do you deal with not only coming up with it, but then the limitations that arise around the magic system, whatever it is that you discover, and how does that affect the pacing, right? Do you struggle with that, or is it just like, yeah, it's my 30th book, I'm good?
I think you're asking a lot of different questions that
I
aren't
am.
necessarily.
I'm not great at this.
Well, no, it's okay. They're just not necessarily interlocking. I guess is what the real answer is, because coming up with a magic system, and then coming up with a high enough stakes or stakes that make sense for your magic system, are their own two skills. And pacing a novel is kind of a completely different skill that isn't necessarily tied to how complex your magic system is or what kind of stakes you have. It's more about the how do you do the payoff, right? So in Time-Marked Warlock, the main character can rewind time up to 24 hours. And I did this because I kind of wanted to give him such an overpowered magic that it almost felt like a cozy, because it feels like he can't lose, right? Like he could just keep rewinding time. It doesn't matter. So in a situation like that, the most important thing that happens is with the main character, because he is the same no matter what happens with the time rewind. So if he has a problem, and in this case, Time-Marked Warlock, he is extremely depressed. His brother died, and he kind of has given up on life, right? So he has an emotional arc where he's just being a bum in his apartment and he's not doing anything, and he's only dragged out of it because the little girl Bree comes knocking on his door and is like, "I need your help right now." And so by helping her, he gets his mojo back, and that's the real crux of the story, right? Is that he doesn't want to be a detective anymore. He doesn't want to do any of this stuff, but he gets all of his mojo back, and that's a really satisfying arc, because you're like, oh, he started as a weird hobo bum, and by the end of it, he's now like his cool PI detective self again, and he totally beat down all these enemies in a single day, and that's really fun. When you have a power like Time Rewind, the best way to handle a villain that can stand up to him is really two ways, classically. Is you have a mirror villain, and that means a villain who has the exact same powers, or a villain who's an anti-power, like somebody who has the exact opposite of his powers. And in my case, I mean, I guess this is a spoiler alert, but it's kind of discussed.
It's the twist.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Well, it's discussed throughout the book, but his brother is killed basically by an anti-magic monster, so people can't use magic in its presence. So since his entire shtick is magic, he can't use magic on the anti-magic monster. Therefore, you know, his cool overpowered skill does not work on this. He needs to come up with a different way to handle the problem, which is the stakes, right? So that's if you were to learn about story structure and writing, those are probably the two classical answers to whatever sort of magic system you have. Is a mirror or an anti-villain. You can do other things, you know. There are lots of stories that have, like, forces of nature that are a villain. Now, I don't think that they're as fun for an adventure, because fighting a storm is not particularly fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter how much he rewinds 24 hours. If there's just a hurricane that wipes out a city, what is he supposed to do about that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, that's not very fun narratively for an adventure. So there are other types of villains you could use, but, you know, I guess this is, I always advocate that people really learn the story structures and villains and archetypes, because a lot of the answers become really readily apparent. It's like learning math or history or a law degree or something like that. As soon as you start getting a lot of these answers and looking behind the curtain, you know, peeking behind what is happening here, you can get a lot of these answers pretty quickly. Pacing is more based off of reward and payoff, or foreshadowing and payoff. So in a story, a really well-paced story will have a few things of foreshadowing, and some of them will be paid off immediately, and then others will be paid off later. But you're constantly getting a little bit of payoff constantly throughout the book. And if you go too long without any payoff, that's when most readers consider this boring. So, for instance, again, in the Hunger Games, there's a lot of foreshadowing too. People are going to be picked.
And
Go
there's
ahead.
no dead children soon enough. That's, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
dead children don't come until, like, the 75% mark, like, pretty deep into the book.
Right.
Can't believe I stuck with it.
Oh, but so there's a lot of foreshadowing, right? So they're like, my God, there's the Hunger Games. But the Hunger Games doesn't happen until, like I just said, 75% of the way through the book. Mm-hmm. But some of the other foreshadowing is who's going to get picked. Right? And so that payoff happens very soon. PETA gets picked, and you're like, my God, that stupid bakery kid? And then, oh no, Katniss's sister. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, that can't happen. That's crazy. And then Katniss, recommends herself. That's a payoff to a foreshadowing. The foreshadowing was 2 people are going to get picked. And the payoff is these are the two people who got picked. And that happens pretty quickly. But we still have the overarching foreshadow that we're going to get to the Hunger Games eventually, right? So we still have that. There's no payoff there. But then we go to the Capitol, and they're like, my God, you need to get sponsors. And you're like, oh shit, sponsors. And they got to like you for some reason, so you got to have an angle for them to like you. And so Katniss is like, okay, I'm going to shoot really well with my bow and arrow. So that's a little bit of foreshadowing and payoff. We're still not even to the Hunger Games yet. We've foreshadowed the Hunger Games in the beginning. We're still not there, but now we have a little bit more payoff because we got the sponsors, and now we figured out how we're going to get sponsors. And PETA is like, I'm going to impress people by my bakery skills or whatever. He paints himself. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, he uses camouflage of some sort. You guys have read these books, I assume. I'm talking like you know what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah. These are little moments of payoff. This is how you keep the pacing up. And we're still working our way to the Hunger Games. We still haven't had the payoff for the Hunger Games. We're still not there. And so that is a completely different skill than if we had a magic system. You know what I'm saying? Like, or what's going to happen with the magic system or who the enemy is going to be. Every story, in my humble opinion, should be paced well, no matter if you're doing a cozy or a YA dystopian sci-fi thriller, you know what I'm saying? Or your fantasy book or something like that. So, yeah. Hopefully that answers.
It's interesting to... No, yeah, it was great. I apologize for the compound question, but it's interesting to hear you even just talk about your book specifically, because when you talk about the formula, it's like, oh, that's so basic, but I can see what you did, right? But it never came across that way. I mean, even at the end, I was like, man, I think I got a tear coming down. Like it was pretty intense. But when you boil it down to the formula, it's, oh, simple.
Well, that's the fun part of writing, because and again, I keep coming back to like comparing it to a restaurant or something, but I just feel like this is a good analogy. In order to make a cake, you just need flour and some sugar and some eggs and maybe some frosting. Okay, anybody can make a cake. That's just the basic recipe for a cake. But what makes your cake special? Did you add chocolate to your cake? Do you just have strawberries?
Keep going.
Do you have like Oreo crumbs? Yeah, you're like, whoa. I guess that's what I would mac and cheese.
Nah, meatloaf, dude.
That's what I would say, are the things I bring to the table. Like when you think of me as an author, I know how to make a cake. Yeah. But now I'm going to give you a cake with Oreo frosting and a chocolate fudge center or something like that. And people are like, oh shit, I love those things. And so they keep coming back to eat my cakes because I gave them the cake that they kind of liked. And a different author is going to give them a cake that, is made with the freshest of strawberries and is light and fluffy and airy, you know what I'm saying? Which is compared to my chocolate cake. And that's the like essence of being an author, is knowing the most basic how to make the cake and then adding your own personal flair, making it the best cake you could possibly make. The audience wanted the cake. Like, I assume you reading my book wanted a competently told story that was a mystery with a good payoff where the main character is a cool guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gets out of his slump. That's what I assume you wanted, right? Like when you go to a restaurant and you order for a slice of cake, you want the cake. Now it's just my job to make sure that was worth your time, that was worth eating. You know what I'm saying? That you walked away from it being like, yeah, that was totally great.
There better not be some asshole waiter coming over with meatloaf, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, I want to shift gears a little bit. I love picking your brain here about writing, but I want to talk about something else for a little bit. And actually, I want to talk about you and how well you know yourself, because I don't think that you actually know yourself very well.
Oh my God.
Because, I always, with all my guests, I have them do a little survey, right? And I asked in my little survey, a game you love. And what you listed was Persona 5, which is, I haven't ever heard of. What is Persona 5?
It is a video game, obviously the fifth in a franchise known as Persona, in which the main characters adapt personas in order to fight demons, typically in an alternate universe.
Huh. I've never heard of that.
Okay.
Interesting. Single player?
Yes, it is a JRPG, which is different
Okay,
than normal
okay.
RPGs because it was made in Japan.
Is it
Right,
been
right,
around a while? Is it new or?
It's been out for several years. It even has its own super special collector's edition, Persona 5 Royale. I would
right.
say it's the best JRPG I've ever played in my whole life. It's got
Damn.
phenomenal voice acting. It's a very fun game, very detailed, very amazing. It is not short, though. I would say that this game requires like at least 100 hours or 120 hours just to complete the story.
Damn. Wow. That's crazy too, isn't it? Like, I mean, to the point too of like that you made earlier about how much different media and whatever there is. Like, that was my train of thought that I was trying to.
Oh, got
Ding
it.
ding ding.
Yeah.
Right, right. Here it is. Ding, ding.
Oh, there it is.
Um, um. Okay, so let me stick with this for a minute, and then we're gonna get back to like you not knowing yourself. But
Okay.
okay, the trend, yeah. So you made the point that like way long ago there were only three TV stations, which of course like that was a thing. But we're a little bit beyond that, just a little bit. But I mean, I was having a discussion with someone else too about how I loved when Game of Thrones was airing. Right, I loved it. And part of that was because I would watch it with friends like every week, and we would sit down and like maybe have pizza, and we'd be like, okay, it's time for Game of Thrones episode. You know what I mean? But then part of it too was honestly the way that that show had entered the cultural zeitgeist. And it wasn't even just me and my friends talking about it. Like I could go talk with like clients that I worked with and whatnot, and be like, yo, did you see the Red Wedding? Oh my God. You know what I mean? And I think, sadly, that maybe we're never going to get that again. Because I feel like there's so much media and it's so distributed that I'm not sure that there will ever be like one thing that sort of feels like that connected experience anymore.
Well, have you heard of K-pop Demon Hunters?
You know what? Shit. Okay.
Yeah, everybody and their mother has seen K-pop Demon Hunters,
That's
and everybody wants to talk about it. So
yeah. You
yeah,
know what?
it'll happen again. Don't worry.
You just actually made my day because that's actually wonderful. Like, I mean, I think those shared experiences are so nice in stories, you know?
Yeah,
It's a cool thing.
it'll happen. Really, it just needs to be a good enough story, right? A good enough medium that a lot of people get into it, recommend it a whole bunch, tell their
Yeah.
friends about it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the other thing, though, right? I think because K-pop Demon Hunters, I too have also seen it because I have little girls.
Yeah.
But even if I didn't, I still probably somehow would have seen it.
Right.
But it's like I was talking to somebody about why were the movies in the '80s so good, and it wasn't just like a nostalgia thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was saying it's like, well, that was a time of a lot of original stories, and there's just so many there's so many remakes. There's just not a lot of originality now, and I think K-pop Demon Hunters
Mm.
is very original, and even Game of Thrones. Like nobody had ever seen anything like that before. You know, you open the scene with incest and then throwing a kid off a tower, right? I mean, the
Well,
book doesn't exactly start like that, but
yeah,
still,
the book starts with snow zombies, but
right. Also cool.
I maintain, and this might be because I have just too much hubris or something like that, but it is a storytelling problem. I feel like a lot of stories in the 80s were original stories because there were a lot of people who were super passionate about storytelling, and they had a lot of
Yeah,
stories they wanted to tell. And
yeah,
right now, there seems to be a complete lack of storytellers who are
Yes.
making these movies and media,
Right.
and they are more interested in things like the artistry of it, or something else
the
that isn't
paycheck.
the paycheck, something else that isn't necessarily writing an amazing story. But the people behind K-pop Demon Hunters, for example, were very passionate about their story. They really wanted a fun story, and if you look at the behind the scenes stuff, they went way out of their way to make sure that this was a really fun story first. And so that's my thesis, is that there's, or my hypothesis really, is that there's just a lack of really motivated storytellers in some of these industries.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Well, that's pretty cool. And again, you know, like I love that you actually answer that in a way where it's like, yeah, it's happening, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Ah, you know, 'cause,
Yeah,
like I do think that's such a cool thing, and I'm thinking too, like I remember, like my mother actually used to go to like Harry Potter release parties at the bookstore, which was awesome. Props to mom being a huge nerd. But I'm sure that sort of thing is happening for like Fourth Wing and those giant phenomenon books right now. You know. which is great. Again, like, I love those shared experiences. All right.
Back to her not knowing herself.
Back to you not knowing yourself. So Persona 5 you listed now. Somewhere, I think, deep on your website, you actually listed your favorite video game, and you said Mass Effect, maybe also Super Mario RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of those are Persona 5. Is it because Persona 5 is newer?
It's
Did it used to be Mass Effect before you played Persona 5? Is that what's going
actually
on?
it's more of a problem about like the top 5 games that I like are constantly switching depending on how I feel in that one exact moment.
Right.
Persona 5 is the newest of those 3 that you just listed, but it also is because I just went to Japan not too long ago, and it's because Persona 5 is set in Japan, Tokyo specifically. I went to a lot of the locations that are in the game.
Oh, that's fucking rad.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun just going to those locations. So it's really fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like a game that I liked. I have a lot of personal investment in it.
You've never been to the Citadel for Mass Effect?
I've never been to the Citadel.
Really?
Never
Oh,
been
weird.
to Pipeland for Mario and stuff like that. So,
Okay, but that Mario land that they have in Universal looks so cool.
See, I gotta disagree with you. I've seen a lot of videos of people go to the Mario Land. Now, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna go to the Mario Land at some point. But from everything that I've seen, it is extremely devoid of anything to do. And you need to pay $80 to get your wacky little watch so that you can basically tap it on a bunch of inanimate objects in the park to get your weird little score. So it's not as fun as it looks. But I'm sure I'll go to it someday.
Wait, no.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a shame.
I've also heard that the food in the restaurant, while very cool looking, tastes like trash. Yeah. Like Garbo. So that's a little disappointing.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, but pro tip: if you're at Universal, the one with Diagon Alley, there's a seafood restaurant that's an actual proper sit-down restaurant that's right on the little pond they have in the middle. Best place to eat in the park. Yep. With reasonable sort of restaurant prices, but it's actual a sit-down restaurant and has good food.
I assume this is the Orlando park?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's not in the Hollywood Park.
No. I don't think I've ever been to the Hollywood Park. I've been to the Orlando Park a number of times. I used to have a couple times I had an annual pass there. That was fun. But anyway. Well, Mass Effect was fun. I one day I've played the first one. I played the second one. They're obviously very good. I still haven't played the third one. One day I got to go play the third one. Maybe I'll stream it sometime or something. But that'd be fun. I know.
I liked Mass Effect quite a bit. It's definitely up there. And some days I do just answer that as my favorite. I'm not a big fan of the ending of the trilogy. I mean,
really?
I don't know anybody who's a fan of the ending of the trilogy. Actually, I've never met anybody who's like, yeah, it's such a great ending. No, it's ham-fisted. It feels dumb no matter what happens. The game basically gives you 3 choices, and I feel like no matter what you choose, you might as well just put a gun to your head. You know what I'm saying?
Oh boy, fun.
But if you don't count the last 10 minutes of the trilogy ending, everything else was pretty great.
Nice. So we talked a little bit about writing in different genres. Oh, you know what? We're going to get back to writing a little bit, I think. Although, let me ask you this one also. You have, again, I think deep on your website, you listed your favorite book as Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein, which I think is pretty cool. I think, I had a friend that was a huge Heinlein nut when I was in late high school, and it got me reading more Heinlein, including Stranger in a Strange Land, and I'm like, this is good. And he was in that, I think, sci-fi golden age, right?
Mm-hmm. Fathers of sci-fi, isn't he?
Right, one of them. Well, I mean, shoot, Frankenstein author is the number one, but
Mary Shelley.
Oh, Mary Shelley.
Yeah. There you go. Disagree?
I never thought of it as sci-fi.
You quiet. I want Shami to speak.
Oh, my bad.
I agree with Dante. I've never actually really considered Frankenstein science fiction. I understand that it's basically based in science fiction because it's like, what if you could reanimate a dead body?
Right.
But when I do think of science fiction, at least when I classify it as that, as opposed to speculative fiction, which I think is actually what Frankenstein is, I think a futuristic details, locations, and things. And Frankenstein feels more like speculative fiction. Like, what if we could animate a body? You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, fair, but I feel like, I mean, then you'd have to say that Jurassic Park isn't sci-fi, and I feel like that's definitely a type of sci-fi too. I don't know.
well, at the
I think just because
time,
we're looking behind at it, right?
yeah, at the time it was futuristic because they were talking about cloning and
Yeah.
resurrecting dinosaurs from DNA, which
I
is
mean,
not
but
necessarily a technology that we had at the time.
but
And then
neither
they
is
also,
like reanimating corpses of Frankenstein. She just didn't have the language of like cloning in it. You know what I mean?
again, that's why I said it's speculative fiction because she's like, where you just hit it with some lightning and the fucking body comes back to life because of the electricity. And
You know,
so,
there's definitely some guys digging up some corpses and trying to get some lightning going.
yeah, you could
And
have
at least
tried
one
it.
dude had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have
Yeah,
tried
like,
it right then and
maybe?
there as soon as you read the book. You could have been like, oh man, let's go get a corpse. Let's go get a lightning rod. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I'm down.
Dante's just trying to find ways to kill children. You just
but you can't watch or read Jurassic Park and be like, nice, let's go get some dino DNA and splice it with some frog DNA and then let's clone that and make myself a dinosaur. Like, we didn't really have that tech at this point, so it felt pretty sci-fi, but maybe you could classify it as speculative fiction in retrospect, like, maybe.
okay, all right. I mean, I get your point, and I'm not like gonna beat you up about it. You know what I mean? But
It
You
doesn't,
both
it doesn't
have very
matter.
valid points.
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I've heard Frankenstein is like kind of the beginning of sci-fi, and I was like, you know what, I like it. I'll take that. But anyway, but yeah, Golden Age Heinlein, and I feel like he's not like talked about. I guess maybe like, I mean, when he is talked about, it's only like as a freaking meme with like Starship Troopers, you know?
Well, Starship Troopers, the book, is
Yeah.
significantly different than the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
And
don't.
hopefully the new movie will reflect more of the book because the book was fantastic.
Yeah, I think most people, when they joke about Starship Troopers, are joking about the movie because I've found that very few people have actually read the book.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hydrocephalic apes. That's what I want to see.
Let's do it.
It was in the book, Nick. That's why they said, "Do you want to die or you want to live forever, you apes?" Because they look like apes.
I don't remember that,
Anyway.
but okay.
Highland
Cool.
is, I think, most well known for a lot of his philosophical discussions. Most of his sci-fi is steeped in some sort of philosophy, and I always found that really interesting to think about.
I agree. Yeah. And then occasionally there might be like a shoulder-launched nuclear weapon, you know? Like
Yeah.
fun.
He knew
Giant
how to
bugs.
keep the people entertained. He knew how to do the pacing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I think I'd love to. I mean, getting back to the beginning, we talked a little bit about how you have like a background in education and history, and then a law degree, and you were a university professor for a while. How have some of these your background informed like some of your writing? I have to imagine a big part of it is just that you you don't get through a law degree without being able to like read a lot and write a lot, you know. And I think that just kind of that rigor and mentality has been super helpful. But like, you know, you're obviously not writing a John Grisham legal thrillers, right? So, but how has it like sort of informed your work?
Well, a history degree is great because when you're a fantasy author, you could just plagiarize history. That's what I recommend people do all the time.
Yep.
Game of Thrones is just plagiarized history. I mean, I don't know
Plus
if you know
dragons.
this, but it's based off of the War of the Roses. And in real life, the War of the Roses was two houses fighting over the throne. It was the Yorks and the Lancasters. Like, that's what really happened in real life.
Familiar.
Yeah, and
Didn't
so
even go that far in the naming convention.
yeah, exactly. George R. R. Martin like erased a couple letters and maybe wrote in a couple extra letters. And now we have the
Yep.
Starks and the Lannisters, but it's very blatantly the exact same thing. I mean, even Westeros is just kind of a sideways, upside down Britain, and a lot of the plot beats just take straight from War of the Roses. So when you have a history degree, I feel like you could plagiarize a lot of history for your books. That's fun, right?
That's actually a good
think, like,
point.
there's some crazy stories in history too. You
Yes.
know? And
You need
and
to be a
I
little
like
careful because some people, if you wrote it in an actual book,
yeah
would not believe that it could possibly happen. I've done that a couple times. I
right.
have a series that's set in World War One, and it's
Mm,
about
mm.
a magical team of sorcerers that like our
That
special
can't
forces.
happen.
That's not what they're saying couldn't happen. um, I wrote that what was happening on the front lines in World War One
Mm.
is that a bunch of British officers would come out wearing shiny boots and hats because the military mentality before World War One was very much like if you're an officer, you have to look
You're a
like an
gentleman.
officer.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, not that you're a gentleman. You have to look like it. You
yeah,
have to be on your horse. You got to be
yeah.
walking around with your super special uniform, like et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. However, World War One was the first time that we really had snipers as a problem, and so all of the British soldiers, or sorry, all the British officers were getting sniped and killed left and right
Hmm.
because they were easy to pick out of a crowd. Like, look at
Right.
that guy in his shiny fucking hat. Um, and that happened frequently. And we know because we have letters from the soldiers on the front lines who would write letters and say things like, "Dear Mom, Pa, today I saw yet another British soldier gunned down because he refused to take off his shiny hat." I love Bartholomew. And
Yeah, yeah.
so we know that this happened constantly. I wrote it in my book, but then I got a 1-star review from somebody who was like, "Nobody's so stupid as to wear shiny hats when there are snipers around. The author
That's what
clearly doesn't know anything about military or history." So when you do
Actually, yeah.
plagiarize,
yeah.
history, you need to be super careful that you don't actually plagiarize the stuff that, while wild, would make people like suspect. They call it the Tiffany problem. Surely you've heard of this.
No, I haven't heard of the Tiffany
No.
problem. No, tell me.
Oh, Tiffany is an extremely old name. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
goes back thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wrote a book that was set in like 300 AD and there was a Tiffany who was running the shop, everybody would be like, "No, there's no Tiffany running a shop. Tiffany, that's a stupid name for someone back in 300 AD. Her name should be like Athena or something like that. But
Well, that
no.
was actually going to be
Interesting.
Jesus' name if he was a girl.
Oh, okay.
Tiffany. Yeah.
Tiffany, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
But that's the Tiffany problem, is that modern audiences, quote unquote,
Yeah.
expect a certain archaicness to a lot
Yeah.
of stuff, or realism, quote unquote, and it's just whatever they perceive as realism, not what actually happened in actual history.
Right.
An
Right.
ancient Mesopotamian queen named Brittany.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They'll get
Oh, that's
upset.
fun.
They'll be like,
I never heard
"Oh,
of that. Yeah, that's
so
cool though. I mean, it makes sense.
yeah, this is the Tiffany problem."
But speaking of plagiarizing history, I have a book idea. Both of you guys are welcome to take it. The Napoleonic Wars with frozen zombies and dragons.
Oh my God.
There you go. There you go. Run with it.
And that's not derivative of anything.
No.
Yeah.
Very unique. Very. Well, another like plagiarizing history. Actually, Dante and I were talking a while ago about like the biggest cavalry charge in history. Are you probably familiar
Are
with
you
this?
talking about the Charge of the Light Brigade or something else?
I don't think the light. No, but it was the siege of Vienna and Polish winged
Okay, yeah.
hussars. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they had like. What was it? 60,000 heavy cavalry, I think. Is that right, Dante? If I'm pulling
Yeah.
the number off
I
of my
think
head now,
Tolkien
but like
Tolkien used this charge for the siege of
of Minas Tirith, yeah.
yeah.
Or Miss Tirith.
But his number was like 6,000 or 12. I think it was only 6,000 that his
No,
number
it's
was.
it's what is it? It's Helm's Deep. The Helm's Deep battle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because he has the cavalry come in and save them. And
Yeah.
that's the same that happens in actual history with the Siege of Vienna. The actual cavalry arrives. That's where that comes from.
Yep.
But,
So it
Tolkien...
turns out plagiarizing history is good enough for Tolkien. It's good enough for me,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see what he did? He added. Oh, I know it wasn't
Gandalf.
Helm's. I was gonna say he added a dragon, but that was actually the
That was
later
Minas
one.
Tirith, yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
He did add
He
Gandalf and
didn't.
like saying, "Look for me at the first light," and then maybe there was magic, or maybe it was just the sunrise.
Right. And a really big horn.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, but plagiarizing history, especially for battles, very common in a lot of fantasy books. Tolkien does it a lot, actually.
All right.
Giving
So.
me ideas.
Yep. 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 I'm gonna crack open my history books and write a banger. Yep. um.
Just pick the right war.
So I want to. It's time to transition now to our extended for Patreon. But as we're closing out here for YouTube and whatnot, Shami, this is delightful. Can you please tell folks where they can find and follow you online, please?
I have social media everywhere, and you can find my books wherever books are sold. But most of my handles are Game Over Station. So on Twitter, I'm at Game Over Station. On Instagram, I'm Game Over Station. I I usually use that, but again, my name is pretty unique. You could probably find me pretty easily just by typing in my name.
There we go.
Yeah.
How did you land on Game Over Station?
I really like video games, and the name of
Good.
my book company, like that I use to do all my self-publishing, is called Capital Station. So.
Okay. There we go. There we go. All right. So go check out Shami. Go follow her on all the things and go buy her books. It'll be a good time. You'll probably read something about history and not even know it.
Yeah. Yep. Peer pressure.
And in this extended part, one of the things I want to talk about is something that I think could actually dethrone Romantasy possibly as the new kind of king of the hill for books. And I want to get Shami's input. So, go follow us on Patreon and listen to this extended edition. Huh?